All right, y'all remember this little car? Remember this one? We got it in from the auction. We did the video on the trunk. Ed was digging through the trunk, and it had tons of mechanic tools and all kinds of good goodies in it and all kinds of crap going on with it. Well, let me tell you where we're at with this little guy. Okay, hood's not on it for one. We started putting all the stuff together. So we started putting some parts on it. Ed started driving it. When it first come in, it had the busted overflow tank that was cracked on the backside, like you could feel the steam coming out of it. It had a busted power steering reservoir, so that was leaking. So we ordered the power steering reservoir, we ordered the overflow tank, and we started putting all the parts together. We started sanding all of the old clear coat off of it. It was running and driving fine, you know, shifting good. Everything felt good, besides it was a normal rag of an Avio. So their Avios are not the best quality vehicles. So we were moving forward with repair. Ed got in the overflow tank and everything. He installed the overflow tank, installed the power steering reservoir, you know, went over anything else that it needed under the hood. And then he went to drive it, and it wanted to start not wanting to crank. So it got harder and harder where it just didn't want to crank. So we kind of paused on it. We said, hold on, what's going on here? You know, why is this thing getting worse to crank? I think he pulled the spark plugs out, and I believe it had coolant and oil all in the spark plugs. Ed, didn't you pull the spark plugs out on that car?
Yeah, and they were drenched in oil.
Yeah, a lot of oil, and didn't have coolant in there, or just oil?
Just oil.
A lot of oil.
It was milky underneath the oil cap,
The spark plugs had a lot of oil down in there where the valve cover gasket was leaking. So it was leaking, you know, a bunch of crap out of the valve covers around the gaskets. And checked the oil cap, and it was milky, which it doesn't look that bad today, I guess because it's not been ran. But the bottom of the oil cap was milky. So now, as I'm sure a lot of y'all mechanics know where we're going with this car's blowed up. So I bought this car blowed up. Didn't know it was blowed up. Here's why. The overflow tank was cracked, like I said, on the back. Being that it was cracked, basically it was pushing air back into the coolant system, and the split was allowing the air to escape, so it was never building up enough pressure. The system was never building up enough pressure to actually cause an issue. And so it run and drove fine. As soon as we put the new system on there, it was wanting to push a ton of air out of the breather, the vent of the overflow tank, and then it was with the cap off, it was wanting to bubble up just continuously. So that's what kind of led us towards, okay, we probably got a blown head gasket. Sure enough, check, you know, I mean, it adds up. 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, it's a blown head gasket. We had another issue on a Duramax a long time ago where if you take the radiator cap on a Duramax that has a blown head gasket, like the LB7s, I think they are, like the 99 to 04s, and if it has a blown head gasket, you can actually drill a really small hole with a drill bit through the radiator cap, and that will bleed off enough pressure where you can drive that truck perfectly fine, you know, until it causes more problems. But that's a way that dealers can dump a vehicle, or you could patch a vehicle up to get by until you can afford a thing. So if you're buying one of them LB7s, them older ones, you have to look out. They're notorious for blown head gaskets, and people have figured out you can drill the radiator cap. Basically the same thing that was happening with this one. So when that one was blowed up, I went ahead and snagged another little one. That way we could pull parts off of this one. You know, we could take body parts off of this one and put on our other Avio. The other Avio we got is pretty cool. The other Avio had like 90,000 miles on it. It was a real low mileage car, clean. Just needed front end stuff. They had actually started, interior's clean. They had actually started the repair on it, so they had broke down a bunch of this stuff. All the seals were broke down, and let's see here. Yeah, 90,000 miles. It is a 2011. They had started body working the hood, you know, and just fixing everything from the accident the shop did. And so normally when they find extra damage, you know, then they go ahead. Sometimes it tips the scale and it totals over. And we've bought them like that where they've started the repair and then, you know, they find a bracket that's literally bent or something and that tips the scale. So something crazy. So I was like, cool, we'll swap all the body parts over to this little guy. I paid a little bit more for this one because it was low mileage. And I was like, then basically what we do is now we take the money that we're in that one and the money that we're in that one out there, and we combine them together. And then that's the cost that we're basically in one. And then we sell this one for hopefully more than we are in both of them and clear us a little bit of profit. Worst case scenario is we sell this one for enough to cover both of these and we break even and we don't make $1. We pay for labor, employee rate, and all that. The whole problem with this car is where it's at. So it's over here on Mike's side. I don't know if any of y'all caught that. It's supposed to be over there on our side, the paint and body work side. This one ran and drove, and then it threw a code. So it threw some code to have to do with timing being off. And me and Eddie don't really do motor stuff, so we have asked Mike to take a look at it, and basically Mike has confirmed that it jumped timing somehow. How much you say it's off, Mike?
Around 1.5. So the way those sprockets and stuff go onto the cams, there is no keyway or splines. What holds them on there is literally just the pressure of the bolt that bolts into it. So someone has already went in here and did something. I don't know what it is, but timing's off. So now it's my turn to go in there and play mechanic.
So that's where we're at. So Mike went to his side, took it off, seen that stuff didn't line up, and so now he's having to, what are you doing, making some tool?
Yeah.
For across the top?
What is it?
Oh, it's right there.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah, so this piece goes in the back here.
Yeah.
And it goes into a slot.
Oh, yeah.
I got to take the timing belt off to get this slot to line up, but it lined up like that, and that's what holds the camshaft where they need to be, so you can take the rest of the part and get everything lined up. Yeah,
so he's literally making a tool, but he's going to verify the issues. He's 100% sure it jumped timing, but now he's got to verify, like, basically which one jumped timing and where it's at. Is that right?
Reset the whole 9 yards.
He's just going to reset everything.
Because it's definitely off. This stuff should be lining up right now, and it definitely does not. So something somewhere is off. So I'm going to just go ahead and reset the whole 9 yards and be done with it.
So that's our story of the update on the AVO. So this is the ugly side of the flipping the car world also. And now Mike's going to have to tell me what I owe him for doing all of this and for fixing this. A whole bunch. He said it looked like it wasn't too bad. It might be like 2-hour job. So, but who knows with this kind of things. So we're pretty much having to fix it because the only other option now, which I have done this only one other time, I've never happened again and I don't want it to happen again, is one vehicle we had a Malibu, we had to buy 3 Malibus to get it right. So it took us 3 Malibus for different situations to finally get to the point where we had one good Malibu to flip, and then we had to put all 3 of them Malibus, I think the price was together, to try to get our money back. I can't remember if we got our money back. I feel like we might have, but if that was one that we didn't, then we would have had to take what was left over in parts and buy one more wrecked one and put the remainder that's left over and the new one that's bought and put them prices together, flip that one, and hopefully you clear profit. So if that was the case, then that one took 5 to do. But I know the original sale, it took 3 Malibus to clear So on that tool, here's a better shot. There's actually a groove that you can see right here cut in the into the cam. So basically like a flathead screwdriver, you know, it's a slot straight through it. And then the other cam over there has a groove cut into it. But as you can see, we are not in it. So you can see the groove right there below the metal. So the cam basically looks like it needs to be turned a little bit more like that for it to line up. So that's all Mike's done. And then he's notched this one so that it clears a little tooth so that he can get that one in there. And it's almost all the way in. He's just got to turn it a little bit.
Yep.
What you about to do?
I'm still working on stuff.
And then when that goes in there, then that is where the cams are correct, right, Mike?
Yes.
So if that slot goes through both of them, then your cams are correct.
Cams are correct. And all aligned.
And then you just have to align the crank, right?
Yes, the crank's already aligned. I have to loosen these camshafts.
So the crank is where it's supposed to be, and now you take the cams and turn them where they line up like this.
Yep. And then loosen the bolts for these camshaft sprockets, and then put them where they're supposed to be and tighten back up.
So fun stuff, boring stuff, but glad that Mike knows how to do that, because it's not like we couldn't do it, but it'd probably take me and Eddie 2 days worth of YouTube class.
I mean, Mike was begging to do this job.
Mike was
not begging.
Mike
I
was
am making a video of making that piece there and how everything works.
So there you go. Check out Mike's channel, Blanton Dynamics. And he is going to go way more in depth than all my rambling and stumbling of how these cams work and making that tool so you can do this yourself at your house. Make sure you look up Blanton Dynamics. And while you're over there, just like I told you before, tell Mike to get to work. So while you're over there. And Mike showed that these inside here, you can see that they're kind of already boogered up. Let's see. Right there, you can see signs that somebody's definitely been in there. And like I said, he can see that there's like a new water pump put on. But he thinks that somebody might have just not put it back together correctly whenever they did something to it, and that it's actually been running like this for a while. Because like I said, Eddie was driving this thing Eddie was driving this thing perfectly fine without issues. So there's definitely signs that somebody had been in there. Just one example of if you think that you're going to just jump out there and flip cars. You know, you better be ready, because I can tell you everything that I know about these. And like, you know, it's good to buy from insurance. It's absolutely terrible to buy, you know, clean titles, because that's the type of stuff you deal with. That one had jump timing, but it runs and drives fine. It's just got a code on it. Like, there's not really and there wasn't no issues with that one, right? Just the code. But I mean, it drove fine.
Yeah, it good.
Drove fine, but the timing is clearly jumped. So I mean, somebody might have paid to get, there is a new water pump on it, so somebody might have paid to get a water pump done, and then somebody just did it wrong, or whatever the case may be. I don't know how it would have happened, but obviously they were driving it when they got wrecked. Obviously it went to a body shop, they started the repair, they found something, and then, you know, they totaled it out. I have in the past called body shops. I do have insider connections that can get us the information and names of the body shop and everything. And we have on 1 or 2 vehicles in the past called them to get a little bit of info. But on this one, it don't matter. Like, I don't care what they tell me they found. I don't care about none of that, because at the end of the day, I have to fix it. So that's all that matters, is I have to fix it, and I have to get myself out of this crap, you know. So, but I just want to update with y'all, because y'all seen when Eddie went through the red AVO, and it was already had some damage that we weren't expecting. You know, it had the quarter panel damage. My wife kind of actually pulled the bit on this one, so it had all this quarter panel damage that I'd already fixed. I put this thing on frame rack, pulled it and everything before we installed the new coolant reservoir to find out that it had more issues. But my wife pulled the trigger on this one. I didn't really want that car, so I kind of pick on her. Eddie's like, hey, you bought that car. But then I turned around and bought that other one in there. But that one should have been perfectly fine. So you'll get these every so often. It sucks, flat out, but because you basically know you're working for free. But it is what it is. So I figured I'd share that story with y'all, because that's some stuff to look out for. And if you're going to do this, or you think you're going to buy from an auction, you need to prepare for the unknown, because now we're down 2, and we've got 2 AVOs together, which don't hold a lot of value already, that we have to figure out. I have to figure out how to get all of our money back and get out of this crap. So like, comment, subscribe, share. Hopefully you learned something from that, and I'll catch you on the next one.